Steve, that's close. How are y'all?
Getting close, yeah. Evening. Feel like I just talked with you.
Well, yeah, kinda. Hello Norbert. Hello Jack. Yeah, Steve showing off his beard. He had to get up in the camera where you guys could see it. Make sure it was noticed today. G'day Chris. Is it supposed to be like g'day mate? Like on Crocodile Dundee? Is that really a thing? I'm just asking if it's a real thing or not. So if Chris is down under, that means he'll look up and see all of us. Actually, he could probably dig a hole to get to you, technically, because he's under, this big rock. Well, hello, Jeff. Steve tells me I got a lot of background noise, guys, but I'm working on one more cutting board, and it looks like it's about done over here, so hopefully we'll be getting that out of there. I can quieten things down a little bit.
Showing off all your orders.
It's almost done. I'm just trying to get caught up. I've had both machines running wide open this afternoon while I've been in here doing stuff.
It's a good problem to have.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me go stop it or cut everything off. It's finished now. Whew, bamboo stinks. See? Whoa, that's got to be taken. It's got to be taken in the house and washed under the sink. And I use a little scrub brush to get in there and get all that soot out. But once you put a little drop of soap on there, a little hot water, scrub it, it'll look great. So
these are all just stock for your shows coming up, huh?
No, actually, these are orders from same people get the stove covers. So I got
okay.
3 of them. Yeah,
I got
3.
So they just leave those generic?
Well, some of them. These are the ones more or less that if in case they forget somebody, they keep these in the back room and they're like, oh wait, yeah, we got you this. But if it's one that they actually have planned, they send me the name and I've got another design that I do that has the name on it. But these are kind of like those, everybody has those presents, like birthday presents for boys and girls and stuff in your closet, just in case you forget somebody's birthday and they show up. That's kind of what these are. So, but
that was called a card and some cash.
Well, yeah, that's that little envelope of money in the safe. But no, Norbert, I don't put anything on them. It's bamboo. I mean, they make utensils and stuff like that out of bamboo. It is what it is. It's wood. I tell them, mineral oil is what I recommend, or some type of cutting block oil to keep them moist so they don't start, getting bad on you. And the oil or wax would help kind of fill in the pores to keep bacteria from having a place to hide. But that's on them. But so far they're doing a really good job as far as holding up. I buy those things in packs of like 12 or 24. Yeah, it's not really a wood. So, but yeah, well, hello from Oak Hills, California. I'm not sure where that's at, but it sounds nice. Oak Hill, a lot of oak trees. Oh, Jack said all he did is 3D printing today. But yeah, no, not a whole lot going on here, guys. Like I said, last night I finished those cards. That was 100 business cards I got done. And trying to get caught up on these. And then I will be doing some, Steve, for the upcoming festivities. But these are actually, like I said, these are spoke for. I got to keep the old orders coming so that I can, finance my inventory. Because if I don't complete these orders, the money will dry up kind of quick. So I get these done, and then I wind up reinvesting that into stuff to take to the shows and so forth. But yeah, I will probably take a couple of Home Sweet Home generic ones like that to the show. And I may do like some of the more popular names around here, just in case somebody shows up. Like Mims is one of those real popular names here. So if I did one that said Mims on it, there's a really good chance that somebody would see it and say, oh, I need that. But I hand the cards out and, for customization. That way, even if I don't have what they want, they can reach out to me and I can knock it out for them in the weeks following. Last event, it took me like 3 weeks to get caught up.
It'd be nice to be able to really track orders that come in from that show versus just other sources, you know. Because I know a lot of people, they go to these shows and they try to figure out whether it's worth it or not. And half of what you got to realize is it's advertising, and you're going to have a lot of after show sales and referrals and such. So, sometimes you go to those and you don't sell a whole lot, but then all of a sudden your orders pick up afterwards, and the business comes in, and so.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian, it's Mims. There's a bunch of Mimses around here, and I know it's hard to believe. There's a bunch of Smiths also, so I could probably do a Smith one. We have Smiths, we have Smithermans, and we have Mimses, Klecklers. Yeah, a lot of. Is that another guy from John Hogan? Is that a fellow Australian for Chris there? Well, look at that. Yeah, Brian, I figured you would like Smith as a last name. Yeah, well, hey, Chris, you now got company. You got John over there. He might be your neighbor. He might be like just a few, houses or a couple of deserts over from you, whichever.
That's typical Americans, figuring that everybody outside of us lives next door.
Yeah. Now, Norbert, the reason I had the lights off the other day is because this place was destroyed. So I didn't want y'all to see it. That was a kind of a cheat on my part. But I actually can turn those lights over there off and on. And I know what Steve's going to say. Gear junkie. But see, I have a little button right here. I can turn them off and on with.
See, I'm just waiting for you to call me out, because I call you a gear junkie, but you got everything the same stuff I have. So
I was going to say that, except I don't have one of those cool little grills like you got right over top of your head.
Oh, well, it's been up there a while. So does it count if I'm not using it?
Well, yeah, it's still a Blackstone. That's like one of the really good grills. I don't have one of those.
I actually spent part of the.
We just get charbroil grills around my place.
I actually spent part of the day cleaning out my smoker, and that's always fun.
Which one of you guys has the static tonight? What do you mean, Brian? Which one are you talking about? What are you talking about, static?
I think it's the static he's hearing every time you talk.
Am I overloading?
You might want to mess with
some
canceling stuff.
No, it's going to be overloading from this, probably. Turn that one to 3. Whoop. And turn that one to 3. How about there? Is that still modulating? It ain't making no noise, is it?
It only makes noise when you're talking, for the most part. I think it might be some of your, if you still have like noise cancellation and other things on.
Let me see here.
But it's not, I don't think it's terrible.
No noise canceling there.
But yeah, Jack, I'd actually like to get a bigger Blackstone. This one's a little 22-inch, and I got it because it was portable, and I hate it because it's portable. So I either need to build a kind of a counter and a cover for it, or I thought about just upgrading to a bigger one that has a lid and a cover built in and such. So I love using it, but I don't like having to take it out, set up a table, and put it back each time. But
all right, did that change anything?
It's okay.
Well, I don't know what it could be. So I've got my input on 3, and it may need to go up a little bit. I don't usually use this wireless mic with the computer. There's 4. So I don't know. Like I said, once my longer cable gets here and my little boom, I'll be better off. It's a general static. I'm not Well, I'm not hearing it when Steve talks, so I don't know.
So, does anybody have questions tonight, or fun topics?
He said you're clear and your beard is full.
So,
Well, apparently not very many people are hearing it, so we're going to just forget about that. Well, Brian was Dave made a sale. What? Dave made a sale. No, I ain't made a sale. That's somebody bought some stuff on Etsy from me, and their order is not going through because their payment method is not apparently processed, and they're really upset about it. But I can't help that. There's your question.
I was just reading that. Trying to figure out tracing on Lightburn to see if it would be the solution for taking parts of a photograph for fill or lines. So I think to do that, you're going to need to play with your contrast on your photo and kind of raise that up a bit to get some better delineation between items. And then it might work for you. But you'll have to do a little playing around with. What is that? Is that something going by your shack or something?
Oh, I couldn't hear it. I got these on. I did hear what sounded like a motorcycle or a truck with no muffler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry about that.
Squirrel.
Playing around in Lightburn with the trace, it really needs to see a strong delineation between objects. So if you increase the contrast and have fairly crisp lines there, you might be able to make the adjustments. But if you have a fairly mild tone, low contrast photo, you might have some difficulty with that. So.
Well, hello, Sharon. But yeah, I would agree with you on that, Steve. That you're gonna. There is a such thing as like maybe using a filter in Photoshop or something and changing it to a sketch, maybe, and then trying to drag it in there. That might help if you're trying to like make a raster type file out of it. That might help give it a little more defined lines or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all right.
An option there. Norbert, glad that worked out well for you. Definitely getting that dialed in can help for tighter fitting objects. I alluded it to my last video that I made on the coaster caddy, that if I had dialed that in a little bit more, I maybe gotten just a little more friction fit. And so depending on your needs, and if you're doing inlays especially, that's something to play around with. So glad it worked out well for you.
Yeah. Yeah, y'all had to do like the spreadsheet saved me because I don't do math. Y'all know that. Bam. I appreciate that. Yeah, the round circles coming out weird is definitely not something that you want happening with your laser. Man, like I said, I think Steve's touched on this, and I know we talk about it in the lives a lot. And I think we've even diagnosed a few of them here in the lives. But finding that perfect combination of tension but not too tight, you kind of got to find that sweet spot. And once you get a feel for it, it's a lot easier to keep those things in check. So, hello, Sharon. How are you? Loose but never gets. I don't know what Brian's talking about. Loose nuts. All right. Yeah. I saw your post you did on that, Norbert, and it looked like you had way more time on your hands than I have, because that was that was a pretty good little project. I ain't had time to do many projects. I'm playing catch up still.
Well, you just need to get that retirement going.
Hey, I'm working on it. I've got to save up. I asked them to give me my 2 years of service that I had in Montgomery back, but they wanted me to pay for them. So asked them if I could like just pretend it was a student loan, but they wouldn't let me go by with that. The puzzle.
So,
Yeah, Steve does those puzzle things. I've tried that. I'm terrible at puzzles.
well, and Norbert was mentioning that he used a plugin in Inkscape, which would be kind of nice because you could both work with the photo and the puzzle design in one program, and then just import that all together into Lightburn. Whereas I was taking the outline from an online generator and then bringing in the photo or image in and resizing it. Anytime you can eliminate any online sources, be standalone's nice. So definitely something to probably check out. And if people aren't familiar with it, Inkscape is a free image editing and vector application. I mean, it's more for vector stuff, but you can do some image manipulation in there as well. And so if you can't afford Creative Suites for Illustrator and Photoshop, that's a good alternative. Is Inkscape and then GIMP for like the photo processing. So
yeah. Sherry said she just got through moving her exhaust port to the bottom of her enclosure. Yeah, Sharon, I'm going to be redoing this enclosure Zilla soon, putting a fresh air intake in it because I'm finding now that I've got the shop air conditioned when I'm doing a lot of work. Having all this air pulled from inside the shop and blown out through the walls is causing a little undue stress on my air conditioning. So I'm fixing to take and do away with the duct system that I had to build in this one. I'm going to move the fan down low and have it pull the air in from the top and out through the bottom. I've got the hole saw and everything ready. I looked for some tubing and some pipe today, but didn't find anything I like better than what I've already got. So can no longer scroll down. What?
So
Look at that. I got awards.
Getting your steps in, sitting there.
Well, it's probably telling me, no, it says I've had a perfect week in standing and that I have achieved my goal. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be jealous of your air conditioning pretty soon because it's been warming up rapidly up here. And like right now, my shop's sitting at 70 degrees and I've got
70?
no active cooling. Yep. It's at 70.
Seriously? I got my thermostat set at 73. You acting like that's hot.
I'm saying it's warming up. It's still feeling kind of cool in here now, but I don't have any active cooling, so it's only going up until the temperature drops.
Well, I have a good air conditioning, man, but that service call is probably going to cost you. So, I mean, he'd probably do the work for free as long as you paid for his trip.
Well, the worst part about it is electrical, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, I was actually trying to do another video today that I thought was going to be really quick and easy to get out there because I'm also trying to work through this IKEA machine. So trying to get this last review out of the way so I could focus on more projects ones. But it's definitely in the queue and it's towards the top. But I probably need to just stop thinking about ideas with it because I keep thinking about options and ways to work with it. So I do promise I will get that out. But just keep sliding on that list. So,
This is 91 in northern Maine today. That is crazy. That's hotter than it was here. That's crazy. Line after Phil.
So Lightburn, they kind of changed the way that worked. Instead of having those various options, you can put sub tasks on each layer. Let's see if I can load up Lightburn really quick and then maybe show that. But you actually would set your fill first and then your line after, and then it would be in two different layers, or two different functions on the same layer. All right, so got Lightburn open and all right, how's this? We seeing it okay?
I can see it.
Okay. All right, so if we have just a simple object here, we've got a square, and if I want to change the layer and make this a fill, it would do that function. But if we double click on this, it'll bring up more of the settings. You see now you have what's called sublayers, and you hit this plus button over here, it'll add another layer to it. And so now what you can do is come in here and you can change this to line as it is and set up your speed and power. So if we just wanted to have it outline something, we might go at, say, 500 millimeters a minute and 50, whereas the fill is going to be your 6,000 and 65 or whatever. And now what it's going to do is we'll do these layers in order. So if you look at the preview, it should go through this, and then the last little thing is hard to see, but it's circling around the object with the line. And so that is the same thing as fill plus line. It's just you have to do it in going into your properties by double clicking on your layer and adding a sublayer. So you could do the same thing if you wanted to do side to side, but then you also wanted to add a fill but change your angle slightly. So maybe you wanted completely vertical at 90, or you wanted to have a 45 after doing the other. You can change that, and then you can change the order of them, but it'll do the first one, the second one, and then the final one. So you got to play around with your sub layers to get those features, and that'll all happen on here. And so then when you see what happens up here is change to multi instead of your line. And then if you want to remove them, you just click on your tab and hit your remove tab, the little minus symbol, and now it's back to just fill and 6,065. So hopefully that helps explain how you can get both your fill and your line in the same layer.
Cool.
But yeah, that can add a nice border to it, kind of gives some definition to your engraving. So definitely something to play around with.
Da, 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 da. Jackson, he uses that with the fiber for deep engraving.
Yeah, I can imagine. There's a question for you, because you've played around with this, right? Your different fill functions.
Well, it depends on the design. I'm not going to sit here and say blanket statement of offset fill or the different line modes. One is better than the other. I will say this: when you're laying out something, especially if it's going to be a lengthy burn, try changing it to the different settings and see which one gives you the best tentative time. Because I have found that offset works good on some designs, and some designs it'll actually hurt it. So it just depends. Now the one thing with offset is the way that it feels. If you're going for a specific look, the laser strokes kind of go in a little crazy sometimes on that. If it's a material that the laser lines aren't going to show, or if your LPI is high enough, that may not be a concern. But I would definitely play around with it. It is a very useful tool. I can see times, and I've used it at times on certain designs, but on others, it's really not that big of a help. So.
Yeah, and I've found too that if there's anything mechanically wrong with your laser, this will point it out, because it's making fast moves and jumping around a lot. It can lose a step, and all of a sudden you'll get a little gap. Whereas if it's just going across straight up, it's kind of like on a rotary. The more it has to move around, the more you introduce some possible issues with the mechanics of it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, the idea is it's trying to optimize the path to just hit the specific areas that it can, and get big chunks of area versus having a lot of extra white space and having time that it's moving without firing. So,
Well, congratulations, Brian. Yes, I did actually add a wall, but no, it's just because there's clutter up there, and it kind of made everything look dark. And I keep like that's where Christmas ornaments, Christmas lights, and all that stuff are saved and kept. And then of course I've got you know things that occasionally I'll need for home repair. I keep up there. Those are the I have to keep them where I can get to them, but I don't want them down here in my way. So that's just kind of my little loft area. Oh, and yeah, I was just trying to dress it up, clean it up a little bit because it looked kind of crummy the other day. But yeah, good eyes though. Paid attention there. You get a little gold star there. Uh oh. Uh oh. That's a tricky question.
yeah. So, um, that's a tricky one because one of the things I would say is it depends on the support you get from the manufacturer, and unfortunately, you don't necessarily find that out until you have a real problem um, with them. So,
Yeah.
as far as lasers, I've used a lot. I have used my various Atom Stack ones quite a bit. I like their air pumps. I don't like the noise because they have kind of their fans tend to just run all the time and loud, but they also tend to maintain that cooling. Um, Both of us, I think, the Aether has been a real workhorse and power horse, and so that's a well designed, well functioning machine. Um, X Tool has been good over the years. Um, they do tend to be a little more they've got maybe their own wiring in some ways, and it's hard to expand without buying their specific stuff at times, unless you go real aftermarket. Um, but you're also seeing that with a lot of these other lasers and their newer frames and such. They're far more purpose designed, and that makes them maybe function better as is, but less customizable without getting the product from them. So I don't know. To say which one's my favorite would be tough because some of them have worked better for certain things than others. But I would say the X tool has been pretty decent as far as just for general cutting and graving. It's been pretty solid. The Atom Stack I haven't had a whole lot of problems with either. This new IKEA is actually Atom Stack's higher line. So we'll see how that goes. I also like to see when they continue to bring out new products, and sometimes they're fairly rebranded, but when they're working with newer accessories and they have different modules, that shows some investment in longevity, as opposed to maybe a company that bought out a line of lasers, slapped their logo on it, and is just trying to sell a few. So
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way as far as I try to tell people it's a personal preference, to be honest with you, on most of these machines. Some machines perform better at appearance. Some have a few more bells and whistles. Some have a little more robust design, sturdier frames. But I haven't had any problems out of any of the machines that I've got so far. So I haven't had to deal with any of the repair stuff. But the only thing I've had to do is change a few lenses, but now that's because I run my lasers a lot. Uh, but I keep my machine clean. I keep the dust blowed out of them. I keep the software updated, and I haven't had any problems. Not with Xtool, Atom Stack, Acer, any of them. A few of them I've had to go in, and you have too, and adjust some of the settings in the controller. But that wasn't a mechanical failure or electronic failure. It was more of a lack of programming, I think. So, but luckily I was able to figure out what it was and get it working.
yeah, it's some of those. It's maybe their first time laser out, and that's kind of the little black eye on it or something, but it's easily fixed versus something that's maybe a big mechanical miss. But
Yeah. No, Chris, Brandy doesn't send me up there. I actually mentioned getting a better chair out here, but no, I still go in the house. She doesn't usually get that mad at me.
if you want a good chair and want to spend a lot of money on it, my friend Chris at A Glimpse Inside released a video today on a $600 shop stool he bought. And he actually paid for it. He didn't. This wasn't provided to him, and I actually got to see it when I was down there, and I was asking about it. He's like, "No, I legit researched it and bought it." So if you want something really fancy and you got $600 to spend on a shop stool, definitely go check out his video. It's a nice chair, but it's a lot of dough for your shop. So
Yeah, see, my chair is this is a Clack Shack original. This probably, I don't know if I valued it. I'd say it's probably valued at least 600. I made it with scrap material one day because I didn't have nowhere to sit.
it's been well seasoned.
Oh yeah, it's been used a lot.
Yeah. So engraving metal with an M1 X tool, or etching, I should say. Unfortunately, no, you're not going to be able to actually etch or engrave really any metal with a lower power diode or CO2. You really need a fiber laser or really high powered CO2 to actually mark into it. Now you can either remove coatings or you can use some laser marking sprays such as Surmark or Brilliant Spray, and that's similar to a laser printer where it fuses the material where the laser hits to the metal, leaving it on there. And it's fairly durable, but you technically could sand it off, but it doesn't leave an actual depth of engraving into the metal. So that's something that definitely looking into your fiber style lasers to do. So.
Gosh, she's stalking me. Y'all be careful what you say. She's stalking me over there. The M1, is that that's a CO2, isn't it?
No, the M1 is it's like the enclosed diode with
is it an enclosed diode? Okay. I didn't know what frequency it run on.
Well, I think it's the combo of the diode and the blade cutter, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cutter / something, but I didn't know if it was CO2 or what. Yeah, Jack. Sometimes you just got to put your foot down. I have to do that a lot. Oh.
So, have you looked at the X-Tool F1?
No. No. I haven't really done that. I've seen some of the advertisements, but as far as like going in and trying to investigate it, no, I haven't.
So yeah, this is there's a number of places that have kind of their little 1 and 2 watt kind of small galvo lasers, and you can do stuff with them, but they're limited in their engraving area, and their power, which means it's going to take a while. I think if you're looking at really small objects, like you're wanting to do some engravings on, like jewelry type stuff, adding things to rings and such, it might be a perfect fit for someone like that. But, even getting into your typical, coins that are like 1.5 inches round, your typical challenge coins and such, that's going to take a while on those still. So, and for me, the price they get for those versus what they do it's really up there, compared to the power that you get. A 20 watt galvo you can get for 2 to 3, and that F1 is maybe only half that for a tenth of the power. That doesn't equate for me as far as value.
Yeah, I've been looking into getting a fiber, but yeah, it's unless somebody wants to send me one to try out, I have no plans on getting one of those. I think Adam Stack actually makes one too. They call it like an M4 or something like that. They're all designed basically like the laser pecker was, I guess, probably the first one that I saw that was like that. But I have been looking at some of the 30 to 50 watt fibers, but they're pricey. And the reason I'm kind of looking at a fiber is because they are smaller than, say, a CO2, and I could do metal.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it definitely would open up a new medium for you.
well, there are certain things that are made out of metal that somebody in my line of work could really have some fun doing. Marking things and putting designs on them. So Jim said he's been testing the P2.
Yeah, how's that going, Jim? What are you liking it? Are you happy with it?
Yeah, jury's still out on that one yet.
I heard a lot of them. I heard they had to switch from FedEx to UPS because a lot of people were getting shipping damage on them and such, which was too bad. But
Get some water.
looking forward to seeing more from people on that one.
Uh-oh.
It's noisy. Well, yeah. I was wondering about the, it's got the integrated cooling setup, and so it's got to do a lot of cooling in a small space. But even my larger chiller for my CO2 makes a fair amount of noise when it's operating. So. Yeah, Brian, I know a lot of people that get excited about the JTech lasers that you can put on a 150 CNC, but I feel like it's anytime you get these multi-mode machines, like I think Snapmaker has one that's like a micro mill laser 3D printer. Even my desktop Stepcraft can do multiple things, but they tend to maybe do one really well and then can do the others. And when you have the space or the ability to, having kind of dedicated machines to it can make a lot of sense. So.
Mm-hmm. Plasma to a CNC. That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun.
So. Jim says they're reporting issues with the built-in air assist. You never know.
Mike, as far as going from the 5 watt to the 20 watt, if you're wanting to use the laser marking sprays to mess around with metal, or if you want to try around, playing with like the color changing attributes on stainless steel, yeah, 20 watt would do something for you. But if you're wanting to actually do a lot of marking on metal, you're going to need to look at that low power Galvo option that they have, or something else. These diodes are just really not great with metal as far as more than just removing a marking. So like anodized aluminum, powder coating on stainless steel and such, that's something it can do. But actually marking the metal itself, bare metal, is you're kind of limited to the marking sprays for the most part. So.
Well, you can mark stainless, but it's not going to be very dominant. It's more of a bronze. It's more of a bronzing or a graying of the material. And I mean, while it works, it's not typically what you're going to want. So you're going to want to use a marking spray. But it does last better than the marking spray. I will say that. I've got a tumbler I did that way, and that thing looks fine because it actually changed the metal a little bit.
Yeah, Jim, with the charring and the power, I mean, it is different, and a CO2 beam is not as fine as a diode beam, and so by its nature, it's going to look a little more rough as far as it'll be a wider kerf, and it is easy to overrun it. What I do see is that they're more efficient at cutting on certain materials. You can get away with more of a caramelized edge once you get it dialed in right. So I think you're right to do lots of test grids, try to really dial it in. But I think some people are going to be maybe a little disappointed in the fact that it's going to have a wider curve. There's a definite quality difference between diode and CO2 in the fact that it's just the super fine lines just get a little bit bigger, and to me it's noticeable. Now if you're just doing interlocking parts, cutting out shapes, that's not a big deal. But if you're going for the detail of engraves and a real fine scroll work, then they may find some issues with that. So
Yeah, and a lot of people too. You've got to remember, if you're doing interchanging parts with a CO2 and you're used to doing it with a 5-watt diode, you're going to have to learn what kerf is and how to overcome that with a CO2. Even going from a 10 or 20-watt diode to a CO2, if it's a larger one, there's going to be I would imagine there'd be a significant kerf change, because my little 40-watt CO2 actually has more kerf than any of the other machines. So, scratch sketch paper. I have done cardboard and I have done construction paper. I've got some of it up here now. But I will tell you this: don't go too hot because you'll cut it.
yeah, so I've played around with some of the scratch sketch paper, and it's really dependent on your design. In some of it, I haven't been too excited about the outcome, but definitely is one of those things to do some test grids with it. Really try to dial in that where it's just burning that top layer away, so it doesn't go into the colors. But it is fun. I've seen some really cool things, some really cool drawings and designs engraved into either the multicolor or single or dual color sketch paper. So if you haven't played around with it, search for that scratch paper on Amazon. You can get a pack really cheap, or you might even, if you got a craft store, you probably have some available, and do some playing with it. So
yeah, the using the new P2, P1, I guess it is, with light burn, I would imagine it'd be a little buggy, especially with all those extra gadgets and stuff that light burn's not necessarily set up to support. Yeah, CO2 has its advantages, but in my opinion, so do diodes. So it just depends on which advantages are more important to you.
yeah, they definitely have they definitely have some production advantages if you're doing parts, if you're doing acrylic. If you're just doing like solid engraves, definitely you can get some speed going with them. But there's a trade-off with that in they're more complex as far as the things that need to be aligned and right. There's more things that can get out of alignment, and but you can do a lot with diodes. If you're getting into detail engravings, they definitely excel at that, and they're far more portable, and you're most likely not going to, every time you move a CO2, if things aren't locked down just right or the frame gets slightly twisted, you're realigning everything. So you can take your diode, hang it up on the wall, put it back down, and it's generally going to still work okay. So
who would hang a diode on the wall?
I don't know. There's
seriously?
crazy weirdos.
Who would put diodes on their wall? But VT has a question, Steve, and since this is kind of a sciencey thing, this is all in your wheelhouse. So I'll let you start off with this one.
So by itself, no. The visible wavelength is of a CO2 is going to go straight through the clear acrylic. It needs something to interact with. It needs something opaque. And so if you want to mark it, you're going to need to put some sort of binder on there. So most people will just use something like tempera paint. because it's just going to wash off really easily. You can use, there's some other masks that are kind of like you wet it down and it wraps around. And this is the same with glass, clear glass. You can mark it, but you gotta put a binder on there. Others will use a spray paint as such, and then clean it off with a solvent. But with acrylic, you got to be careful that you're not using a solvent that's going to actually interact with the acrylic itself and mar it up as well. So with a CO2, because of the wavelength of the beam, it can cut and engrave clear acrylic and glass without a binder. So there's one of your advantages to it. But with the diode, you're going to need to add one of those binders. So
yeah, what he said. Mike has a question, and I do not, nor have I ever. I keep a fire extinguisher handy, and now I do keep a little like Windex bottle with some water in it, because typically, as long as you're monitoring things, typically that is all you need. Now, I will say, and I've done some research on this just to see, and there's a link for them. The thing that they're selling is basically the same as these, and there's all different brands and types on Amazon that you could improvise and use. That's a little more affordable than what the other ones are. I've seen some videos where they've tested them, and like I said, I would not trust them 100% anything. There's no exception to no like safe alternative to being there with it. But in the event that you were distracted or something happened, that to me might serve as a decent backup plan, so to speak, to avoid total carnage. But best rule is just don't leave it unattended, in my opinion.
yeah, so I mean, I'm with you. I have like the little pump spray bottle for small flare-ups and such, and that usually takes care of them. If it's to the point where I'm going to need a fire extinguisher, I mean, yes, if I could afford it and have a CO2 fire extinguisher next to each of my machines, because it would put it out. But by the time it's that big, I'm just going to put the fire out, and whether it's with water, whether it's with an ABC fire extinguisher, at that point I've been protecting my structure, house, shop, wherever it is, rather than worrying about if I'm going to damage the laser at that point. So you'd be surprised with just a spray bottle of water. It's going to take care of a lot of stuff, but I would definitely recommend having, exactly, just like that. Having a fire extinguisher.
This is a recycled bottle of like a recycled glass cleaner bottle that it's just got water in it. So if you're doing like those rugs and stuff like that, and something it starts creeping, because usually it'll just start turning black on you, you give it a couple of spritz. Now, if it gets a little more out of hand, I do have this guy that stays right above my machines, and then I have the one over by the door, which if I'm breaking that thing out, it still got really bad. So hopefully we never need that. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I have a video on fire precautions and looking out for fires and that type of thing. If you're bored, it might benefit you, especially if you're new to laser engraving.
So Gary, I'm glad you're liking the box, and good that you found a deal. So hopefully that's a local deal on the blanks for the coasters and such. If you have a Michael's in the area or you want to order online, I think that's about the cheapest place I've been able to find those square coasters without going like huge order from overseas. And actually, if you, I don't know if people follow Sam Craft, but he does a lot of workshop stuff and he's been doing a lot of laser stuff. He actually played around with trying to order the round slate coasters through Alibaba and has been having a heck of a time getting consistent product and whatnot through that. So, you can get them in bulk on Amazon, but actually Michael's online, I think they sell them in like a pack of 56 maybe, is one of the best deals that you can get those slate coasters at. And just a reminder for people, if you're doing slate coasters and you screw them up, you can sand it off and start over. So don't worry too much about wasted tiles unless you actually break them. You can usually just sand them away and do it again. So they're one of the great ones. You can run some tests on it, dial it in, run your orbital sander over it, and then run the job again. So it's why I like playing with them. So
You could just run it through your planer, Steve.
No, that would be messy. So.
Doug, in my opinion, the 3D images, I would dare to say that most any of the diodes that me and Steve have are capable of burning those images. To get that 3D look, what you're going to need is the processing on the front end of it, because the way the different colors and the way that it kind of lays that out is what's giving that 3D look, as far as the shading and all that. That's my opinion. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, so I mean, the 3D images are they're just the different shading of the pixelizations. So as long as you have a medium that's going to allow you to do that, it'll be possible. And to me, the 20-watt diode is kind of the sweet spot right now, as far as you still have a quality focus point. You've got really good power for cutting, and it's generally not, we're seeing some of those sub $1,000. And so price wise too, I think it's kind of your best bang for your buck. So, yeah, I definitely think it's doable, but that's one of those things that, you're going to have to kind of figure out how well that works on that mirror coating on the back, burning that away and maybe adding some lighting behind it to get it to pop. But as long as it can do that kind of dithered dot matrix style of engraving on that medium, you should be able to do that without problem. So
I'm looking, trying to find questions.
well, here's one. Yes, CO2 cuts acrylic so much better than a diode laser, and it's so much more powerful. And part of it too is you can get such a cleaner edge with the CO2 because it's cutting it at one pass. You're using your enter assist just right. It's going to blast the material through. It's going to flame polish it and then clean that cutoff. Whereas the diodes, they're moving so slow or multiple passes that you don't get quite that nice, clean, shiny cut on them unless, you just have the sweet balance of those machines. You're also limited to the darker opaque colors, whereas the CO2, you can blast through the clear stuff all the way up to the dark black stuff. So,
yeah, with diodes, stick with black. All these were cut with diodes, and I don't know how well you can see, but I've got nice clean cuts. I've actually found a good setting where I can get through this with minimal passes, and I've got a distributor here in town. I've actually got a 4x8 sheet of that black acrylic right now that I gotta go pick up, but I didn't have time the other day to. He's got a machine. He'll let me cut it up into squares the size that I want. So I'm gonna cut some 37. 35 by 17 and a half sheets so that I can fit it in enclosure Zilla. But I ordered a 4x8 sheet of the stuff the other day. And I'm working on getting a price list, and he said he actually would ship it if folks wanted to. And he has a psychotrophy and sign shop here in town. It's the same company that helped me put the stickers on the Clack Shack trailer the other day. And he has a CO2 laser, and he uses acrylic to make things in his shop. But I asked him the other day about, get for some of us that want larger than 12 by 12 pieces of acrylic, if he'd be willing to order it and break it down. And so that's something we're working on. But still hadn't got the price sheet and everything on it yet.
Cool.
But I think that's going to benefit me.
So the coaster box that I designed, put the video out in, I used 1/4 inch material, and I know some people have asked about using 1/8 wood. the design will work, and I was actually hoping to do a quick video on how to resize it for different size of wood. The slot resize tool within Lightburn will get you part way, but it also will move some things out of alignment, so you can't use it for all the parts. So I'm going to do one of two things. Hopefully, I'm going to put a video out about how to resize designs for different size materials and some different tools for doing that, and then show that on this specific one. Secondly, I actually am going to just resize it and add that to the option if people are going out and buying that plan for me. So it will work. It just needs to be resized, but it takes a little. It's not as easy as just using their tool to get it resized. When you do that, it doesn't quite get everything lined up right. So.
Ron, that sounds like a great way of spending your time while you're watching us talk about junk.
You know, it's funny. I was wondering someone might need to see this stuff tonight. This is what he's talking about. If people haven't noticed or know what it is, LA's totally awesome cleaner. You can get this at a lot of places, including I think Dollar Tree and probably Dollar General, Menards, Home Depot. Most of these places have it. It's a concentrated cleaner, but it's a really good degreaser. And so I like this for anything that actually, so like I wouldn't necessarily use it on the lens. That I would stick with your isopropyl alcohol and such. But for any, like the nozzle, the honeycomb bed especially, and anything external that maybe has some of the actual cutting debris and residue on it, this stuff works great to clean that up. Even my spoil board underneath my honeycomb bed, I'll just spray this down on it, let it sit for about 5 seconds, and then just wipe it off with a paper towel. So I really like this stuff for that, and it's pretty cheap too.
Yeah, Brian, you need a service call, bro. Is that you trying to get somebody to come install that? Wherever you're located, it may be closer to let Steve drive over and do that for you. I don't know what you mean by it. I am going to have a 2 monitor set up here soon, I hope. I'm trying to find out. I've got to move this shelf that's right above. Hang on, let me fix this for y'all. This shelf right here, I've got to move this that way, and I'm going to move it over to where it's above the mon port and above this enclosure, and then I'm going to expand and put dual monitors up here. But right now I'm kind of cramped. But that's a job for another day. So hopefully I'll get that done. But I'm going to have a bigger monitor down low and maybe a top one up top. I don't know yet, but we'll see. But I've got to move that shelf over because it really bothers me. It messes with my OCD that the shelf is no longer centered where it used to be centered. So it needs to go that way. So I'm just going to take it all the way down to the end of the mon port, and then I'm going to move this whole area here will be monitors or TVs or whatever. So yeah, a lot of work coming. A lot of work to do. And luckily, this new computer I got is actually set up to run 4 monitors. It actually has multiple monitor capability. So, Steve, you got a bug in your ear?
Something was buzzing there, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
well,
I think I need to get another big TV out here in the shop now that I've been working there. I'm primarily on one screen in it. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, well, I'm used to 2. I've got 2 in my office at work. And back when I used to do computer forensics, I ran 4 screens. So, and this is the machine that I use. So, I know it will run 4. It will run 4 monitors and simultaneously do brute force attacks on passwords and image hard drives all at the same time. So, it's a pretty cool machine. How do you have your camera to show different angles? Well, ETLC. I have a Stream Deck, which I can't show you because I don't have a camera right here. But I'm using OBS in the background, and I've got the Stream Deck set up to where I can turn the camera off if I need to. I can turn the Elgato on. I've got one camera inside the enclosure. I have the ability to pull up Lightburn. I have an overhead camera behind me on the table. Then I have a multi-screen share set up, or a screen share. And then I have multiple camera screen share, as well as the ZV-1. And all of that's on these. I got buttons basically on the Stream Deck that I can control that with. Also, I have my little, sound effects that Steve loves, as well as all kinds of stuff I can cue. But yeah, it's pretty nice. Like I said, I was not capable of doing all of this until I've got a computer forensic machine that I retired a few years ago. And it is a very robust machine, and it's capable of running a lot of stuff. So, but yeah, I like my technology, if you can't tell. Mm. But Steve's actually the one that showed me the Stream Deck and taught me into getting one. And so it's Steve's fault. Just saying.
Yeah. I'll own up that one.
Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. And maybe you can see the. Steve, question for you, bro.
So I was playing around with it for trying to do a lot of what Clack was doing, but for recording videos, trying to switch between Lightburn, myself, and maybe what's going on in the laser. And so I did some playing with that down in my basement workshop over the winter. And then my wife does a lot with Photoshop, and then she ended up playing with it as well to set up a lot of her macros and hotkeys and such in there. So I've actually ended up buying two of them, one for her and the one that I have. But since the weather has gotten nicer and I've been able to be out here more, I haven't really moved more of my typical setup out here. So I'm still running off my laptop and my ZV-1, and I don't have a lot of those set up because I'd actually like to move some things around out here. So,
yeah. Well, I am in the process now that I've got air conditioning of actually moving all my stuff out here. I do my editing out here. I do everything out here. And that's the only reason mine's all set up. And I got this new computer in to get it done. But
well, John, I wouldn't worry too much about it. There's a lot of things that you might need to check on it, but there's a lot of information that's available on getting your Xtools set up and running. And if you do run into problems, there's a lot of experience between our channels, our Facebook group, our community group, as well as other areas out there that will definitely help get you running on that. Just keep safety in mind when you're getting started. Make sure that you're not doing anything that's going to burn a hole in the table you got it set on, or that your eyes are protected and such. So it's fine to be nervous, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. So.
Da, 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 da. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I think Dave just likes to poke fun at me for his AC comfort, because I gave it a couple more weeks and I'll be sweating out here.
Well, you were making fun of me because I said I was cold this winter.
So you
And
put an air conditioner in
I
your
have
shop.
my wood heater over there, and you were like, "You're cold," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's 40 degrees in here," and you're like, "That's t-shirt weather." So, so that's why. That is why. But but yeah. But now I've still got one more wall I've got to insulate, and that is the back wall over here. It's still just tin and wood, so I've got to rip that off in the next week or two and get that done. Da, da, da. Oh, I know something else I was wanting to tell you. Where are you guys from in the states? I'm right in the middle of my state, Alabama. And Steve's up there in South Canada.
South
Uh,
Canada, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but
No,
yeah,
I'm in Minnesota, otherwise known as South Canada,
yeah.
and
But hey, I was gonna tell you this material here. This is 3 millimeter plywood. That it's the stuff I bought and put up there on the roof. And because I'm terrible at math, I bought about twice as much of it as I needed. So so I cut it up and I've been using it on some projects. And this stuff's pretty nice. It cuts pretty good. It's eighth inch plywood from Home Depot. So if you're ever in Home Depot, I don't know where the stickers. Some of them have stickers on them, but it's the eighth inch material. But it's actually really kind of. I mean, it doesn't bend real easy, and it cuts great. So I'm gonna be doing some projects out of this stuff because I've got plenty of it. I had like 8 extra sheets. Yeah,
I'll
I'm
have
terrible at
to
math.
I'll have to see if my local Home Depot has that. I don't know that I've noticed any eighth-inch material there. So
That was 4 by 8 sheets. So
yeah, I think the only thing I've seen is just this really bad, like I forget what they call it. It was almost like a flooring topper kind of stuff. So not
well,
all.
that's what this is. It had a lot of
Okay.
like little pieces of. There's a lot of what you call it, bondo, I guess you
Yeah.
could say
Okay.
in it.
All right. Gotcha.
But all in all though, and it's got these little patches. But all in all, for making stuff that you're going to paint, it works pretty well. And that's what I'm using this for. Is if I'm doing a multi-layered, instead of using 2 pieces of 1/4 inch to do a sign or like a door hanger, do the background on 1/4 inch and then cut the letters out of the eighth and then attach it, glue it on there after it's painted. That's what I'm going to be doing, using this for primarily. It actually is stiff enough; it might make a painted keychain or something. But I had a bunch of it left, so I just figured might as well cut it up and try it.
Yeah, Brian. That's I think the stuff I've seen is that 2.7 millimeter utility panel. Is that what you're talking about?
Mm, I don't know exactly how thick it is. Let me see. Let me grab my trusty little tool here. It's checking in at 2.5. So, but
So it
now
might be
this
that.
is this is the cheap little thing. So I need to get a better one. But yeah, it's probably 2.7. It's probably what they sell it as.
So what do you think on this one? John's asking about. He's currently got a D1 Pro RA2 10 watt, potentially has an order with a company for 50 to 230 ounce tumblers at a time. Sounds like maybe it might be a recurring thing. For
Mm,
efficiency, what laser would be best for speed on tumblers?
mm, well, I would say as long as they're coated. I don't know that. I mean, are they? I'm guessing these are coated, like powder coated tumblers that you're just knocking the coating off of, because that is going to make a difference, like we were talking about earlier, as far as being able to mark tumblers. Oh,
I mean, from an efficiency standpoint, uh, a fiber laser is going to be the fastest at it, but
but not,
that's not
but
necessarily the most economical option.
but not necessarily a 5 watt fiber or a
Well,
two
right. I
watt
mean,
or
we're
whatever it is.
I'm talking like 20, 30 watt minimum.
Yeah.
Okay, he says
Yeah.
they're
In a
colored
perfect
Yetis.
world, yeah. If they're Yetis, you better bring it because those things are tough. They really go. They really go good with the coating. Yeah. I mean, efficiency wise, you're going to want to get you maybe a 30 watt fiber with a rotary attachment built into it, which I would love to have.
Yeah, I mean, outside of that, it's going to be a toss up between, I mean, a CO2, if it's just like your typical like solid vector graphics and engraving, things like that, that's not like looking for like crazy fine point detail, photorealistic stuff. A good CO2 is going to be better than most of your diodes and much faster than the X-Tool F1 at doing those. So I guess it would depend on if you think this is going to be something you really get into a lot and you're going to have more orders from them and others, then I would look at something very like a fiber laser with the setup for that. But if you're looking at something that's going to give you more well-rounded use, you might want to look at some of the your CO2s that have like your 50, 60 watts that have like it's a 27-inch bed, 27 by 17-ish size. It'll give you a little more working area than your diode and a little more power, but definitely still doable with a 10, 20 watt diode. It's just like you say, it's going to take some time. So
Yeah, I've turned out orders of 100 tumblers with an X-Tool D1 10 watt, not a Pro, 10 watt. But it was like that was every day, just setting them up and running them, setting them up and running them. Uh, I wouldn't want to do that again today with a 10 watt with just one machine. If I had an order like that come in today, I would actually have both of these guys running and possibly set another one up on the table over there. Because I actually have 3 chucks now, two chucks. I got one loaned out, and I would definitely recommend a chuck over a roller for doing tumblers.
yeah, I mean,
I
he's
really
mentioned he's got the
the only thing I see me using my roller for now is like maybe a rolling pin or baseball bat or something really long. That's it. Other than that, the chuck is the way to go.
mm-hmm. Yeah, he said he's using the RA2, so at least he's got that going for him. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, you can do it with the diode, 10 watt. It's just going to take some time. But yeah, I think that if you can lock them in and at the price, I think a fiber laser is it's gonna make that go a lot faster for you. But
Brian, that sounds about right on the price of it. I don't recall. Uh, I bought a bunch of it, so and it was a bunch of. I bought insulation. I bought a bunch of other stuff, so I didn't really pay attention to. I knew it was cheaper and lighter than anything else I could find because all I wanted was something to hide the insulation because I've got insulation up there, but I just didn't want to be sitting here and you guys looking at the back of insulation or whatever. So I bought it to just hold up there, put in place, and I shot it up with a staple gun just to cover up the insulation and act as a like extra sound barrier. Because it's been raining a couple of times during the lives, and y'all haven't noticed it since I got the insulation up there.
so the best 20 watt or larger laser to get, and I assume we're talking about diodes. Uh, I would say if money's not a factor, I would be looking at these kind of next generation, the Acer L2, the iCure K1, where they're getting away from the wheels, they're going to linear rods and rails. They've got the autofocus and the Z addressable stepper as well. Those are some pretty cool features that I think you'd really enjoy, and they have everything from 20 to 30 and on up power in that. So if money's no object, I'd start looking at these kind of next generation lasers that are coming out with more of those features. Not to mention the M8 air assist as well. So it's just a lot of creature comforts. Do you need them? No, but they make things so much easier, give you more flexibility. So
Okay, I don't know how she does it. but she said it was $12.83 a sheet because she was with me when I bought it. And Brandy has this weird thing with numbers that she can remember them. So that's probably accurate. But now we may have. It was also bought on my. I have the pro account or whatever. I don't know if maybe they give me a discount because of that or what. So I don't know. But I have a commercial account at Home Depot. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not. I get rewards points. That's the only reason I got it. No, I telling y'all numbers. I do not do numbers, guys. Oh my gosh. She's like weird. She's got like this Rain Man thing going on with these numbers. I don't know why it is. Uh, and hang on, where did Chris' comment go? I saw one of Chris's comments a while ago. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
So, Mike's asking about the range of these higher watt lasers. Let's see here. The IKEA K1 Ultra is a 36 watt and it has all these features I was just telling you about. That one's going for $1,500 right now. Their 24 watt is about, I think, $1,200. And then those are the two options they have right now in that style. So that's just one example.
Yeah, the Atom Stack, which is, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but if you're wanting to get into the 30 watt range, you're looking at $1,259 is what they've got it listed for on Amazon right now. So, but it doesn't have the power air assist. It doesn't have a lot of the features that these other guys have. Because like this guy right here, I'm just throwing this out there, guys, but it's pretty awesome. I was worried that all the bells and whistles was going to be a problem. It was going to be just, giving me issues and a programming nightmare and all that. But so far, it's been running well. Steve was in here earlier while we were waiting on the live to start, and I engraved. I don't know which ones. I've got 3 of them, but I did these. I think this one's the one that come off of that machine. I think it was this one. But I've been engraving these with it. Y'all saw the cards. I did a card marathon last night and did 100 business cards, and it's really starting to grow on me, especially like Steve said with the M8 relay, so that you can use shop air and have it automatic. That was kind of what pushed me over the edge with the new L2. So now my primary machines are both Eitzers, so you can draw from that what you want. And I do have options, but Aitzer is what lives in my enclosure. So, and there's another one behind me over there. There's another one like right there.
And Mike, you could use your X-Tool Air Assist with, well, you might be able to, but they come with their own. And so you really want to use that one or set up the M8 relay like Clack has with the shop air. So
yeah, and that's another thing too that I want to point out, Steve, that I don't think a lot of people know is when you look at these prices for the Eitzers and for the Atom Stack A30 and stuff like that, pay attention to the fact that it comes with an air assist. Whereas some of the other machines, because I know with my X-Tool, I had to buy the X-Tool and then I had to spend like $200 on an air assist. But these newer machines are coming with an air assist pump and everything in the box. They've already got the nozzle. Most of them now have the nozzle that comes through the module rather than having that elbow sticking out the side. And that actually is really nice because it's just cleaner. It looks better. It doesn't get in the way. It's one less step when you go to clean it. I like the through the module design of air assist a lot better than I do the elbows. So something to look for. Oh, Brian, creature comforts, dude. I would die out here. My wife has. We have this thing around here. All right. Anything that I purchase that is safety related, she really doesn't care because she wants to take care of me because she loves me. She's been with me for, 25-ish years, 27 years. And that, sir, in Alabama, air conditioning is not a comfort; it's safety equipment. So there we are. That's how that goes.
Well, I think our wives think similar on that because that was one of the things that pushed me over the edge when I had enough income from some of my shop stuff. I was looking at various tools, and one of them was my saw stop table saw. And she's like, "So this is going to prevent you from detaching a digit and having an expensive hospital stay?" I'm like, "Well, yes." She's like, "Well, you're going to buy that first, then." So,
Yeah. Well, my wife just tells me to buy push sticks or make more push sticks. So so I guess you got me beat on that one, Steve. Sorry, I had to make another water run. I'm gonna one more bottle of water and I'm gonna have to make an outside run. I don't know how many more bottles of this water I can take. Yeah, Jim. I mentioned the other day, doing some more upgrades, and if I ever do build me a bigger shop, putting like a bathroom, sleeping quarters in there, and she wasn't crazy about that idea. She's afraid I'll never come home, but she's wrong because I'll get hungry eventually. See, look, see there. Hey, hey, as long as it's able to put in there. Well, Jim, she's got cameras in here to watch me too. So, I mean, the woman stalks me. Seriously, she does. And I don't know what she's talking about out of the ER. I did have a kidney stone last year from being over dehydrated. So,
she's trying to keep you out of the ER.
what was dinner last night? What was dinner last night?
I don't know, but you said it
Oh,
was warming in the oven.
yeah, it was chicken and some other stuff, which I usually just eat the proteins.
So apparently you have some
Mm.
experience in the ER.
They know me there.
Oh, well, I mean, they could know you just from work.
Well, one of the times wasn't really my fault. That's a 40 caliber entrance right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a hole right there. That was a training incident. I've had a couple of broken bones, kidney stone, automobile accident, which should have killed me. Took them 4 hours to separate me and the vehicle, and parts of me I think are still in that vehicle. But yeah, I've been there a few times. So yeah, yeah. It's it used to be every time she would go out of town for a conference or something, I'd wind up shot or in a wreck or something. So she quit going out of town. But let you play with your what toys? Okay, yeah, toys.
Well,
Well,
the only time I've
my
been into the ER at all, as far as myself, I was on a road trip with some friends, and she found out about it through social media, which apparently wasn't the appropriate way for her to learn about me being in the ER at 3 a.m. in St. Louis.
mm,
But yeah, I had to get some stitches. So
yeah, I don't have the picture. I wish I had the picture of that car. I need to find that and bring that in here one day. But yeah, I destroyed a Crown Vic. Okay,
well, that takes some
all right.
time.
Well, she's just gonna keep ratting me out. Okay, and I do, guys. You got to quit telling them all this. But I also do have a titanium plate which goes from here over to here, and it ties into the top of my gum. Um, I got hit in the face really hard with a forehead, which destroyed this bone, and they had to go in and put it back together. So, yeah, there was that. My bad. Uh, I have gave the lady at the ER christened me with having my first child when I had my kidney stone. She said she had had 3 or 4 of them, and she'd had a kidney stone, and she'd rather have another one than have another kidney stone. That's what the lady at the ER told me, and she is a medical professional. So I'm counting it. Yeah, Super Duty. It was a training incident, as in the SWAT team leader had us shooting targets with uh, hollow point ammunition, tactical ammunition that we should have been using lead heads instead. We were shooting steel targets, and one of the steel targets just happened to be at the right angle to where when it got shot, it shot me. So the bullet ricocheted and was deformed when it hit me. And it wound up lodging back here in the back, and it luckily I got a picture of that too. Luckily, it didn't do any permanent damage. It ran between where this top muscle and the bottom one go together. There's like a little slit in between those muscles, and it went in between the muscles and ran back to here. So luckily, they were able to just snatch it out of there, and well, they didn't sew me up. They made me pack the thing with maybe pack it with gauze for like 6 or 8 weeks, and my wife wouldn't even help me. There's one back at you, Brandy. She wouldn't even help me with it. She came in there and I was like, hey, can you pack this? And because I had to use a Q-tip that was kind of like this with a little Q-tip thing, and I had to like push it up in there with the gauze until it got back in there. And so I couldn't hardly do it. You're trying to push something up in there. And so I called her in there to help me, and she almost fainted and passed out and had to leave. So that actually happened, and she cannot deny that.
Well, this was like a legit doctor, right? I mean, it wasn't like some corner doctor or a veterinarian.
Oh no! This was a legit doctor. The whole thing. Well, here's the thing. When you have a puncture wound that goes in, it goes that deep. It has to heal from the inside out. If you let it heal from the outside in, any infection that is in that wound gets stuck in there and become an abscess, and you can wind up getting blood poisoning and dying from it. So you have to keep a gauze packed in there and let it heal from the inside out.
Yeah, I think I'm with Brandy here. I think if I even had to do that myself, I'd probably pass out. It's just not right.
Well, I had to do it for myself for 6 weeks right at it. Because the gauze actually was like strips. They were like half inch wide, and so you had to place them on the tip of the Q-tip, and then drag them down through here, and you had to push them all the way in there until it hit the back, and then you would twist the stick and pull it out, but leave the gauze in there. That way it could wick that infection out. It was nasty. I've got some pictures I can send you.
No, I'm good. I think I'm good on that.
But yeah, she comes in there, and she was like, yeah, can I help you? And when she looked at it, it was like her knees buckled, and she turned colors, and she started getting hot, and she started fanning herself, and I'm like, go lay down.
Turn colors. I think she probably lost all color, went white.
She did. Yeah.
Well, I don't blame her on that. That's oof.
Yeah. But yeah,
Well, thank you.
That's what you get for throwing rocks at me, Brian. Anyway, back to lasers. But yeah, well, actually, Brian, that's what happens. But I got lucky. I had one piece actually hit me right here in the neck, but it was shaped like a ninja star, and it just kind of stuck in me and didn't go very deep. I'm just glad that one didn't go in there deeper.
Well,
I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Ron's right up there with you. He feels your pain.
Whoa.
Oh, me. Mike said he's the same way. If he's bleeding, he don't care about seeing it. Someone else would be hard. Yeah, well, Mike, I guess I'm just kind of numb to it over the years, but that was actually not that bad. I mean, it was just a hole. You couldn't see what was on the inside. It was kind of weird, though, watching that like as you would push, you just watch that stick just get shorter and shorter, and you're like, where's it going? That was weird.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right, someone's
Oh,
got to give us a new topic.
yeah.
So,
Hey, y'all always bringing up all my boo boos, but yeah, it's been a rough life, guys. I mean, but she has stuck with me. I got to give her credit on that for the most part. She takes care of me, as long as I'm not bleeding. Then she's calling the professionals.
well, some things are best left to professionals.
Yeah.
So,
Steve's looking a little queasy. He got a weak stomach over there. Steve said
no,
he's not considering getting into nursing anytime soon, guys.
you know, I'm generally okay unless it's like someone I really care about. I've had some incidents with family members and such, and it's just like they're in so much pain, and there's nothing you can do, and it's just making you sick. Plus, I don't
Yeah.
like the smell of hospitals, so
Yeah. Well, I don't like hospitals either. I try to stay away from them, but I haven't had good luck at that.
here's
Oh,
here's a
man.
laser question for you.
Where's Jason at? Jason can answer that one for you.
So, I don't know about using the diodes to burn the wounds closed, but um, CA glue, one of its original purposes was actually as a field suture. So you could use that to close up minor wounds really quickly. And so, in a pinch in the shop, if you got a cut and you need to take care of it, that's a way that you can help close up a wound a little bit. I don't necessarily really recommend it with accelerator because then you'll have probably first degree burn with it, but um, it is something that you can use.
Blue tape works too.
Yeah, sort of, but I mean, if you've ever gotten CA glue on your fingers and how it just instantly bonds it together and it's really hard to pull apart, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Interesting fact. There's Jason said he don't know about an existing one, but the Monport got a thumb. And it did pretty much cauterize at the same time. Yeah, it didn't bleed. I can verify that because he sent me a picture of it when it happened.
Oops, that is the wrong one. Um, I've only heard about it. I haven't seen or talked to anyone that's actually been playing with it. So I'm curious to see what's involved. Um, I already have my license of VCarve Pro, so it's not something that I'm looking for to save money. But if I can easily transfer designs between the two and or recommend it to people that are looking at a CNC, depending on the cost, with Lightburn, um, most of us have probably bought like the G code version, which is kind of their basic version. Well, if you have a Galvo laser or you have the Ruida lasers, then you're buying a different or a DSP, I should say, the DSP license for the Galvo. They're a little bit more, and I'm sure their CNC is portion to it's going to be an added cost. But knowing their track record with making very affordable functional software, I am excited to see what they do. So
Now, Beaver, I don't know how much of that Steve could take. So, hey, Jason, man, share with others through your experience so that they can avoid it themselves. That's what I say. I mean, trust me, you're not the only guy, and you won't be the last. I can promise you that.
yeah, Sharon, I know that feeling. You get a lot of glue on your fingers and you lose fingerprints. And I'm not advocating this as a way to commit any crimes or anything, but it does tend to distort and hide your fingerprints when you get that all filled in with CA.
You can also use it to get fingerprints off of things that aren't normally visible with fingerprint. It's called a super glue fume chamber. It's basically a fish tank and a heat source and some super glue. It's cool. We should do that one day. We have like forensic class.
Yeah, Brian, that's a little bit of my feeling on it. Is I like people to focus on doing what they do well and doing that. But knowing there's a lot of crossover between these, I'll be curious to see how well they implement it. Like I mentioned, I'm probably going to stick with Vectric for most of my CNC stuff. But having that option and seeing what's out there, and competitions are also really good. I mean, if Lightburn comes out with a pretty good product, it starts pulling people away, then other people might have to be rethinking the pricing model. So,
yeah, Jason, don't beat yourself up, man. I almost took the end of, I think it was the end of that finger off with a table saw when I was like 16 years old. It cut it. Luckily, it cut it this way instead of cutting it across. It actually sliced it that way. So it mostly grew back normal, but it cut like long ways. I was doing something stupid and my finger went down and the blade caught it, snatched the fingernail out and put a little nice notch in my finger. So you're not the only one.
So just a story about me not being queasy. Back in college, I worked at a local company that was printing press. It's a big printing company. I ran a jet press that processed envelopes, and it would actually do about 500 envelopes a minute. And so I ran that job in the evening, and I don't remember if it was the end of my first week or second week, but I was still in training. I was basically finishing up my training stuff, and it was myself and one other person working in the department at the time in the evening shift, and we had to do a deep clean of the presses, usually Friday night, and we were both working on that, and all of a sudden she runs off swearing, holding her hand, and I'm focusing on what's going on, but all I saw was her run away. I'm kind of finishing the operation I was doing. I look, and there's just little drips of blood going along the way. It's like, well, this isn't good. And a few minutes later, another supervisor came by and said, hey, we need your help, because we basically had to look through the press to see if the tip of her finger was there, salvageable, because they were rushing her to the ER. So I got to, and so I came in on Monday, and my actual supervisor was like, oh, we didn't think we'd see you. I'm like, it wasn't my finger.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I sure hope it wasn't in one of those envelopes that got mailed out.
No, this is during the cleaning process. So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's not fun seeing digits removed by heavy machinery. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't go into all the injuries. Sawmills, rolling big logs around. I'm lucky I still got all 10. I've come close.
I've seen some people do some sketchy things on their stories and videos with getting logs rolled into their mill. So
yeah, logs rolling up against something steel and metal with sharp edges is not safe all the time. I've been fortunate. I hope I continue to be. That's no good. Victor, you've missed a lot. We have went down so many rabbit holes tonight. We have went down so many rabbit holes. No, Jim, you can get one. You just got to get one of them fancy ones like Steve's got that you like. That's like won't cut your finger.
Well,
I think Steve you should demonstrate that thing one day.
Someone wants to send me a couple $100 for a new cartridge and blade. Maybe I will, but it's like any tool. You got to identify if you have the need for it, and then B, you need to understand it, and you need to be smart about it, and you have to be in the moment. You can't be really thinking about too many other things, because that's when you start slipping. And especially with the table saw, if anything feels wrong, I shut it off. Just stop what you're doing, reset. because they not only can, you can get, you got the splitting blade on there that can cause damage, but kickback on this or a circular saw that can do a lot of damage. I had one cut on my earlier saw that the material bound and then it threw it back. And if I wouldn't have had some stuff in the way of my garage door, I'm pretty sure I would have had a piece of wood impaled into, if not through, my garage door. So they can definitely do some damage, but it's about being mindful of your position, where you're standing in relation to that, how you're feeding it through. A good push stick or a push block makes all the difference. But again, it's not the right tool for everybody. A bandsaw is much more forgiving, but has its own issues. So, and it can't quite necessarily do all the same things that a table saw can, but they are definitely very handy to have in your shop. So.
Oh yeah. Well, Jack, I did the same thing in a previous life. First 6 or 7 years of my life, I worked for Asplin, cutting trees. And I've actually had a chainsaw kick back, and I was wearing my hard hat, and it cut a notch in my hard hat. Like the bill of the hard hat, the chain actually cut a notch right there. That's how close it came to hit me in the face. So, lucky. But if it had hit me in the face, I might not be as good looking as I am now. No response. Steve's just like, whatever. Yeah, that's where I work, Jack. I started out course climbing and then I run a bucket truck and I run a giraffe towards the end of my career. Not like the fuzzy giraffe, but a giraffe, which is a primitive machine.
Yeah, Brian, a track saw is a great, if you just need to break down materials or make, cross cuts on things, a track saw is a really great tool. And with more and more companies coming out with them, Makita and Milwaukee and such, they're becoming very affordable and decent options out there. And you can put the saw in a case and put the tracks on the wall, and it gets it out of your shop. So I have one. I really like it, and I agree. It's a safer tool to use.
The threads on the aluminum module that holds air nozzle. Not sure which threads we're talking about. Is it the screws that the actual screws that you take out of the air assist cone, or what do you think? Can you specify there, Beaver?
Yes,
is it the actual screws that hold the cone on the bottom of the module? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm thinking of. So.
Yeah. Well, Jim, if you're wanting to do cutting boards, I'm going to be honest with you. As long as you're not having to rip down any sheet goods or whatever, if you're doing cutting boards, you may want to look at a bandsaw as being one of your first tools, because with a bandsaw, you can do a lot of, like, unless you're doing really big ones, either a bandsaw or a jigsaw or a scroll saw. You could technically just get yourself a skill saw, like a circular saw, as everybody calls it, and if you get yourself a circular saw and a jigsaw, you can make some fairly easy. Now, jigsaws are a lot harder to use than a band, but that's what I started with, was just a jigsaw, and then I went to a scroll, and then I got my my bandsaw. What do you think, Steve? Wouldn't that, I mean, just to do cutting boards, circular saw and a jig?
I mean, it depends on the type of cutting boards you want to do. With a cutting board, with cutting boards, and if you're doing a lot of different species, and or if you want to do end grain, man, I can't imagine doing that without a table saw, just to make real straight cuts and rips. You get the right bandsaw blade on and feed it through right. It should still be pretty smooth and tight, but you're generally wanting to have really clean, square cuts and to join those together. So
I was talking about just doing cutting boards without doing glue ups. I wouldn't.
Well,
speaking of doing
yeah.
block.
I mean, I guess that's if you just want to cut out a shape and have it more like a charcuterie board, that's a solid piece of wood. Sure, I would just go with a bandsaw. jigsaw to palm router and sander would get that done. But if you're wanting to joint multiple types of wood, that's what I think of a typical cutting board is. You're gluing up smaller strips, and in multiple. You really want those square, clean cuts, and that's really best done, I think, with a table saw.
I have not. I don't think you've got one either, have you, Steve?
No, I have not. It's one of those things I don't have the justification to pay for one. It's not a safety issue. So, if I had that, I might look into it. But no, I did see the new Atom Stack one, and yeah, they do have a fine point, but with that comes, they have a really, really short focus length, so getting your focus dialed in is critically important on those. So I'd love to play with one so I could speak more to it and have some experience with it. But yeah, I don't know what more to say about that until I get my hands on one.
There shouldn't be but 2 screws holding the cone on, Brian. The other 2 should hold the cover on. And if I'm not mistaken, those are like the little C channel that's threaded. So if those are getting loose, if the threads are getting loose, there's not a whole lot of options other than maybe taking it and rethreading it and going with a bigger screw, but you're not going to be able to do that but once or twice the way those things are built.
So Beaver Creek said, yeah, it's the aluminum, the threads in the aluminum are wearing, it's not on the screw. So first thing I might do is if you can get yourself a tap set, you might be able to salvage the threads that are in there by just running that through there. The other thing that you could do, and I'd have to look, is possibly step up to the next size. And so you'd have to drill them out, retap them, and then get larger size screws. But I'm not sure how much meat is on there to be able to do that.
Well, if you're really skilled, for no more pressure than that's going to be holding, you could take and use something like JB Weld or some type of filler material, and worst case, fill that hole, let it set, let it harden, and then re-drill it smaller, or you can re-drill it the same size and go back and tap that hole, and it might hold, for a while. I mean, JB Weld and some of the compounds that you use to fill metals, fill holes and stuff with, do fairly well on low torque screws, but I'd be careful not to torque them too tight. And I don't think they used to make the springs that you could put in there, the helicoils that you could use, but I don't know if they make one that small. I've never looked into one of those.
Yeah, Jack, if your jointer has dull blades, or if one's slightly off, you're going to end up wasting a lot of wood running it across that. It's any tool, you got to learn how to dial it in, unfortunately. And worse, if you get a used one, you don't know if that person abused and broke something, and now you're just fighting their problems. But they are nice to have when they're dialed in and working right. So.
Yeah, Jim, I've done a lot of glue ups using like black walnut and oak mixes and stuff like that. And I never had a joiner. I always just was really, really careful and put a really sharp blade on my table saw and was able to get good enough to do pretty good glue ups, even without a joiner. And then once I got everything glued up, put together, of course, I'd do it less than 13 inches so I could run it through the planer and take all those little pieces that I put together and make them all nice and flat. But you don't have to have a joiner. There's a lot of videos out there that show you how to use a router table with a flat cut bit on it, or a table saw to make those butcher block boards and stuff.
See, and that's one thing there that if there's one tool in my shop I give a lot of respect to, and by respect I mean I show it a little bit of fear, is a router, especially in a router table, because those bits grab the wrong way. It can throw wood. It can, you can, if you attack the grain the wrong way as well, it can have some chip out and some nastiness. You gotta be, I would put them at kind of the same level as a table saw. They can do a lot of damage in a hurry if you're not careful. Great tools to have, but definitely something to respect. But yeah, with a good jig on a table saw that you can secure your wood to, holds it and slides that through. That'll put a clean edge on one side. You flip it over, put it up against the fence, and you've got that. Now, if you have fairly clean lines anyway, and you want to joint two pieces of wood together, and you have a track saw, you can put them both down, lay them right next to each other, and you run your kerf, your saw blade right down between the two. It's going to cut each edge basically parallel to each other, and then they're basically jointed at that. And that's something that is great with like these bigger slabs. You drop that down there, and that's an easy way to joint two to glue them together as well. So there's definitely multiple ways to do it. It's looking at what tool you find is affordable and approachable for you, and there's hopefully a decent way to do it. So
yeah, Chris said he. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we both clicked the same one at the same time, I guess.
Any tool that has a part that moves faster than I can yes, definitely.
If it has shiny pieces spinning round and round real fast, stay away from it. So.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, a lot of the stuff that I do, I guess I have a video where I do it. Not always, especially like if you go to some of these places, especially now, a lot of the boards that you see, like bread boards and stuff like that, you can use those charcuterie boards and bread boards. You can make those without having to do a lot of glue up. You can get your hands on some like 1-inch material, or even 3/4 inch material, if it's already plain down flat. You can take the laser, cut you a piece of it that'll fit inside your laser, and I use the laser to actually draw an outline on the material, and then I've cut it out with the bandsaw and the scroll saw. Yeah, kind of like what Steve has in his hand right there.
So this is a piece of 1/4 inch MDF, kind of cut out in your rough shape of like a little charcuterie board or serving board. And so, yeah, you can use this as a template and just draw it out, or you can actually, clamp this to the piece of wood, or, double-side tape it to it. And then you just get a trim router and do a flush trim bit, and that'll go around that really well too. So definitely some options to do that. And then put it in your laser, engrave your thing on there, and have at it. It doesn't have to be overly complex, and tons of species of woods and such. So,
yep.
And if you stick to the big box stores that at least have, they call it S2S, so two sides are finished and sanded, then they're already jointed. You can glue those together if you need to get a bigger board and go that route. So,
yep, lots of different approaches you can take, but like I said, you don't have to. You can start out with like very minimal tools, because like I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, I had like a skill saw, a sander, and I had a finish nailer. That was pretty much it. And I started doing little projects with the tools that I had, and sold those, and used that money to buy more tools, and then made better projects, more complex projects, and then sold that to buy more tools, and then I've pretty much just been reinvesting my money into tools for about the past 3 or 4 years now. And I'm finally to the point to where I would like to have a couple more things, but I've run out of room. So I'm just kind of stuck. Or you could just go get yourself one of those cool CNC machines like Steve has back there behind him, and you can just lay your wood up there and let it cut it out for you.
yeah, you can plane it, you can joint it, you can cut the shape with it. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna get one of these days. That's coming.
Get an air conditioner one of these days.
Yeah. Yep, just like that, Chris, Brian. But I have been doing some improvements in here as far as the appearance of the place and getting it neat. I've actually freed up a little bit of space now. So that red box that was behind me back there, I moved it to the other side where the heater used to be for now. It makes a good roll around caddy for the Atom stack. All right, guys. Questions, concerns? It's getting late. Which nobody's got to go to work tomorrow, I don't guess. Does anybody have to work tomorrow? Other than like our patrol guys do, but I don't. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to wait, Brian. And one of the reasons is because I want to get me a bigger shop. And when I retire, I'm going to need a bigger shop to keep me busy. So I plan on getting one, but I gotta get that. I gotta get the room for it first. Yep, good deal. I'll be doing yard work tomorrow, so if you want to swing by, Steve, I'll put you to work and cut some grass.
No, we did some of that today. So I was actually up on my roof today.
Whew. Not good. I'm guessing it all went okay. You didn't fall.
Well, I didn't fall hard enough anyway.
Well, there's not any snow to keep to break your fall now, is there?
No, there's not. And being up here, they're not very flat roads because they need to shed that snow. So, but
Yeah.
I had to go up there and clean some things off. We got oak trees, maple trees, everything, and they can't seem to drop anything at the same time. So you get pollen and seeds and other things that I need to clean out. And then I had to trim some branches that were getting a little too close to the roof. Didn't want those to get blown around and cause damage. So,
Victor, you having to plant a garden? We already eating. We ate squash for supper tonight that we got out of our garden. Steve was making fun of me because we're harvesting veggies already. they just got the permafrost melted. So yeah, I've already got some peppers. Already got some squash. A few tomatoes. So it's going pretty good down here so far. And that's another thing. When I retire, my wife's going to expect that garden to get bigger. She usually does the garden, but I'm pretty sure when I retire, that'll probably fall on me. If I can't get her to retire with me.
you're gonna have
let's
to
don't
clear out
bring up
that space up there.
Let's don't bring up trees. Let's don't bring up tree. Y'all remember that little incident with the tree that died?
The accident.
Yes, the accident. I think there's some more out there now, Brian, but I haven't seen them. She went and picked it earlier, and I do know I ate some squash for supper. So, but I didn't see any peppers. But they were good. Cutting sublimation MDF test cards. See, that's sublimation. That's a really popular thing, but that's something I know absolutely nothing about. I've got a friend that does that kind of stuff. No, Brian, it was actually an accident. Ooh, speaking of supper.
So
A little.
yeah, well,
heartburn.
I'm off tomorrow, and we'll hopefully be getting some more shop time done with the laser, and got to get some stuff out on the Secure.
Oh, that's what the green stuff was in the squash. I wasn't going to ask about that. Okay. Yeah, apparently we did have some jalapenos mixed in with the squash and cheese.
Unfortunately, I didn't make it to the grocery store to pick up your abomination of pears and mayonnaise and cheese.
Dude,
or whatever that was.
You got to try that. Where's some of my fellow Alabamians at? Where's Firearms and Big Trucks at over here? There he is. Barbecue Bullets and Big Rigs. Steve has never tried a pear salad, guys. And some of y'all are gonna be like, a pear what? A pear salad. That is a southern delicacy, and Steve has never tried one. And I know my buddy over there with the barbecue and big rigs. I know he knows what I'm talking about. So, yeah, Brian, I wasn't going to say anything because I wasn't sure where it came from or how it got there. But I did notice there was little pieces of green stuff in my in my squash and cheese. But it had so much cheese it was hard to tell. So,
Oh, you see that one there?
Miracle Whip. That ain't even real mayonnaise. That's a salad dressing.
And I submit this into evidence as well.
Hey, I can't say nothing. She don't like them. I mean, I don't know what her deal is. She does not like them. I don't know why. I got one the other day when we were at Shoney's, and she looked at me as if I had like picked up a bat or something off of a bar. I don't know.
I don't know. Apparently they're not. They're just okay. They're not that great.
Yeah. No, Bama mayonnaise, guys. That's what you need. Bama mayonnaise. That is real mayonnaise. My wife used to buy that Miracle Whip stuff. Oh, and there's another one. Was it Wilstein's or Hilston's or something? They're pretty good, but there's no substitute for Bama mayonnaise. There's very few things that I'm particular about in the kitchen, but I love good mayonnaise. But yeah, can't even buy squash. Can't even buy squash at this time. It's been 3 weeks. What, Sharon? Where are you at? Y'all ain't got squash. Must be up there around Steve somewhere. The squash-free zone.
Well,
See,
any of our
North
squash is
Alabama. North Alabama is agreeing with me there. If it ain't Bama mayonnaise, it ain't mayonnaise.
I mean, I'm not
Kraft
arguing. I'm not arguing against Miracle Whip or mayonnaise, but just mixing it with what it was. It was a base. You had the base of the lettuce, and then you had a pear half, which apparently had to be canned, not fresh. And then there was a dollop of mayonnaise sprinkled with shredded cheddar cheese, and then a maraschino cherry plopped on top. Do I have I've got the recipe right there?
Yeah, hang on. Here it is, right here. There it is, right there. See, that is it. It is all its greatness, right there, guys. That is a pear salad, and those things are awesome. So there you go. Steve's like, no thanks.
There are so many textures going on with that. I just don't even know.
Yeah, well, I know they can't necessarily get Bama mayonnaise up ever. Well, I don't know. I don't know if they sell Bama mayonnaise online. Surely they do, because what happens if somebody from Alabama goes to the military? I mean, you got to be able to get it. Oh, yeah, you can. Look right here. Come on. There it is right there, guys. That is the real mayonnaise right there. And you can get it at Walmart. I don't know if they'll ship it, I'm sure. So go get yourself some Bama mayonnaise. Oh my. Let's see. Bama or Duke. Now Duke's is that was the other one I was thinking about. Duke's is pretty good. I can do the Dukes. But aren't you the one that was eating the soap cooked fish up there in Minnesota?
I wasn't eating it. I was saying people eat it.
Were y'all cook fish in like lye or something? It's like, sounds like making soap.
I can say that there are things that people eat in my area, allegedly, that I don't agree with. It's just wrong.
Oh man. Those those photo deep fakes. Mercy. No. Brandy, you order all your groceries online. What are you talking about? She doesn't even go grocery shopping anymore. She sits on her iPad in the kitchen or in the bedroom usually, and puts it in her cart, and then she just pulls up and pops the trunk, and they come out and throw it in the trunk.
Yeah, no. My wife does that too, and I say that's fine. there's a few times that you get like sketchy produce because they're not as picky as I would be. You know, if it's like fresh fruit or meat or things like that, I'm gonna go in and pick it out myself. So
Say yens around here. What is yens? What is that?
that's from he's from Pittsburgh area.
What is a yens?
It's like saying you all.
Oh, y'all. Okay, I got you. That makes sense. But now, Brandy's like I said, she keeps me fed. Obviously, I'm not starving or anything. But we don't always share the same choices of food. Uh, I grew up like you know eating some weird stuff, which now she did too. Because I mean, the woman can literally like make a sandwich out of like nothing. I don't. So I think air sandwiches is a real thing when she was growing up. Brian said you got blurry because of all the food talk. No, he's been being lazy, guys. He told me he was going to run a Cat 5 cable or he was going to plug it in, and he just didn't do it. And then his Bluetooth quit working. I offered to remote in and fix it for him since he didn't have any IT people up there anywhere.
I had the backup right here.
Pineapple sandwiches is a good thing, especially with peanut butter. Peanut butter, mayonnaise, and pineapple. That is freaking awesome. That's what we need to do. We need to get you to start preparing some meals. You're going to have to get the ingredients. Heck yeah, I eat chicken livers.
Wait. Why just me?
Well, I'll
I
do
got
it too, but I can't eat lye. Now that's like soap. That's
Oh yeah.
you
just-
you can eat it.
You just brine it in that and then cook it off or something. I don't know.
Yeah, she won't cook me chicken livers, Brian. I have to go get them at the cafe in town. It's right across the road from my office, so I go in there and get them. And you can get like a double order, which is like literally the platter rounded over, and it's good. I think I could lose some weight because some of this stuff. Lose some weight. Now we don't eat healthy. Now we do not eat healthy. I would show you what a hot hamburger is. Uh, that's a good. If you ever come through Chilton County, you got to stop and get one. They are unique to our area. So
Yeah, well, you saw I was loaded down. I was prepared. I didn't need to worry about food while I was on the road.
yeah, you brought like Steve come down here with like dehydrated fruits and all that
No,
kind
I
of
didn't
stuff.
have that. I had my portable cooler fridge and 5 gallons of water and a whole tote of dry food, staple stuff, you know.
Yeah, but yeah. See, here's what you missed, Steve. Let me show you this. There it is right there, and it's greatness. That is a hot hamburger. That's actually from the Dairy Delight in Thorsby. Uh, but you got your two patties, you got all your cheese, you got your bread underneath there, little sautéed onions, and the gravy, and then just some gravy in a cup that you dip your fries in. That's what makes it awesome. So that's what you missed out on. So now that you know.
Well, we'll have to put that up against a Juicy Lucy.
Mm-hmm. There you go, so. Yeah, Jason, the food's actually really good. Peanut butter and honey. Yeah, that's good. Honey's good anyway. Had to make Brandy eat some honey while she was sick. You can't eat lime, but you'll eat chicken livers. Lye goes in soap. I don't know. Oh, well, we have other things. I mean, we're not that backwards. But it's some good food though. That's why, everybody in the county's like fed well.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
most people in the
Yeah,
U.S.
actually.
are fed well.
Yeah, I actually learned the proper way to eat a crawfish the other day. I'm 47 years old, and nobody had ever actually trained me on how to eat a crawfish. But I got a little Cajun guy that I work with. Well, he's not technically Cajun. His three sounds like tree, but he claims he's not a Cajun. So, but he taught me how to actually eat a crawfish the other day. But it was interesting. Anybody else got anything? Questions, comments, concerns? We're gonna have to quit rambling here. We're gonna have everybody scared to come south. Be like Steve. Steve's like, I brought food, I brought water, I brought drinks. But now you went to the Peach Park and ate. What did you eat? What did you get? I
It was
don't recall what
a
it
loaded
was.
baked potato, so it had
Yeah,
barbecue,
barbecue
it had
baked potato.
pulled pork on it, and lots of cheese and sauce and other things on it. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, see, we have other things. Those are just some of the things. Smoky
Well, and
hamburger.
it wasn't so much this event, but or this year, but when I've been at this event in the past, people have done like the Low Country Boil, and they have a Kate's Soul Food there that does all sorts of Southern cooking and such. So
Yeah. When I stayed in New York City for about a week or two when I was younger, and the food up there was way different. But I found that Soul Kitchens over in Harlem had the food that I was used to, which was a welcomed thing because they were trying to feed me like croissants and stuff for breakfast, and I actually found a place where I could go in and get like sausage, eggs, and grits, which was a big deal to a young man that had never been out of Alabama at the time. Smoked bologna, yep. Hey, nothing like a bologna sandwich now. Fried shrimp and crawfish heads. Probably. I've ate probably about every part of the shrimp or crawfish you can think of. And boudin, that's a big thing. I used to work the Talladega 500. I'd work security there. We had some guys from Louisiana that would come down and they would have this big like Cajun cookout, and they had like everything you can think of that they eat and cook down there. And they would always invite us to come over to their campsite and eat, and it was awesome. That's where I learned a lot of my Cajun cuisine from, and then I spent some time on the road working in Louisiana. So we have like fish and grits and stuff like that, shrimp and grits, a lot of different stuff. It's kind of the South. It's kind of a mixture of everything. I mean, we have cafes that sell pretty much anything you can think of. We used to have a restaurant here locally called the Roadkill Cafe. They didn't actually sell roadkill. It was just a catchy name.
that you know of.
I mean, as far as I know. But anyway,
A lot
guys,
of,
if you
dead
hadn't already,
armadillos down there.
oh, there is a lot of armadillos. We don't eat those though. Those things are nasty.
Well, I mean that's
If
mostly
you haven't
roadkill.
already, make sure you hit the subscribe, like, share, follow. I'm really trying to get my Facebook page up. So if any of you guys have a Facebook page and you haven't went and checked out my Facebook page, you can go over there and like hit that little like, follow, share button. Uh, because that thing's struggling. My YouTube channel's doing pretty well. Facebook, not so much. And I think you're in the same boat, aren't you, Steve? Facebook kind of dragging behind a little bit.
Well, a lot of that's my own fault. I need to do some more work over there and do some more updates and other things. But yeah, it's lagging behind some of the others. But no, I mostly appreciate people coming and checking out the videos. And when you do, comments are king on videos. I mean, next to views, comments help make sure that there's some interaction and such. And so it can be something funny. It can just be a hey, thanks, whatever. Take that time for any creator out there putting content out there. That definitely helps people as well. Make sure that more people get seen the video as well. So, but definitely appreciate everybody supporting in all over mediums and such.
Yep. Well, where are we talking about going down there, Beaver? I don't know where beavers at. What part of Alabama? We don't have that big of a problem here. But of course, everybody here is just about toting. So, oh, New Orleans. Oh yeah. New Orleans is you definitely want to make sure you pack an extra magazine or two when you go to New Orleans. I'll
Time
second
life
that.
or
No, the pew pew type. Yeah, when I go to places like New Orleans, Memphis, Atlanta, places like that, I make sure I got at least 2 mags. But yeah. But anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by. Like I said, if you hadn't already, go check those pages out. If you're coming from my page and you haven't went over to Steve's and hit those buttons, feel free to do so. And I know we're gonna, like I said, we got some content coming. I know Steve said he's working on some projects, and I am too. As y'all know, I fell in love with the L2 so far. As long as it doesn't make me angry, it looks like it's got a home till something better comes along, which, from what I'm seeing, is going to be a while. But I do have some stuff coming up tomorrow. I got to do yard work, and I got to do some beekeeping. So I may share some of that with you guys for the ones of you that kind of hang through my bee videos. I know that's not for everybody, but but it's something I enjoy. It's fun, and if you haven't ever done it, it's one of those hobbies that you can have whether you live in suburban area or out in the country or whatever. It's really cool. So I enjoy it. It's kind of a stress reliever for me. But anyway, guys, same time next week we'll have something going. Steve's going to show us how to eat a pear salad, and hopefully, maybe. But
yeah.
I appreciate y'all, and I hope the technology is working out a little bit better. I know Steve went a little pixelated on us, but I'm strongly encouraging him to get up and get motivated and drag that Cat 5 cable.
Just need to get a longer patch cable. I'll have it next week, I promise.
But no, and we may try to mix it up and throw some more videos out there. So stay tuned. If you hadn't already, hit the notification so that if I or Steve get bored and decide to throw a live up, y'all know about it and you won't get left out. So thanks for coming, guys.
We'll see you next week.